Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Dylan Talk Sports. My name is Dylan. In this video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reviewing the college football playoff top 25, kind of going over, giving my opinion on kind of how the rankings are. I'm not going to go through every single 25 teams, but I am going to go through. We're going to do the top 6, kind of the top 10, and then we're going to kind of dabble in the rest. Some of the big points I kind of want to talk about. Number 1, Ohio State. I'm an Ohio State fan. We're going to talk about Ohio State being number 1 if I think that's right. We're going to talk about the idea of people saying number 2 and 3 being Georgia and Michigan. Should one of them been number 1? We'll discuss all that. And then we're kind of going to go over some of the protocols that the committee has to use with like head-to-head, strength of schedule, strength of record, all the different things, and kind of give my opinion on how the rankings should have been. So without further ado, if you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure you do drop a like. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, as you can see, you got all 25 teams here from Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, number 1, 2, 3, and 4. You got Washington, Oregon here, 5, 6, and then the rest as follows. Now let's kind of go through it and look at the rankings. Here's the thing I kind of want to discuss. It seems like with this ranking, they didn't really do anything special. They did make a few mistakes, though. It seems like, as you can see there at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all undefeated. They kept them up there, which, no, don't get me wrong, I enjoy that. Then it's like they kind of kept all the 7-1 teams together. Then they went to all the 6-2 teams, and then just kind of left everything at the bottom to just like your group of 5 teams. First thing, it was kind of a small thing. The reason why I didn't like the rankings that much. They have the 5 undefeated teams up here. They have a 6 undefeated team here in Air Force. And I believe there's also Liberty, and I want to say another team. I could be wrong. I think there's like 2 other undefeated teams, and they're not ranked. I want to say Air Force, they're actually, at the time recording this, they are ranked number 12 in the AP poll. And they're ranked 25 in the CFP polls. How did they go from 12 to 25? And it's like, I get it. Tulane, maybe they're playing a little bit tougher competition, even though them and Air Force aren't really playing anybody. Air Force is 8-0, Tulane 7-1. Why isn't Air Force 24? And then I guess the reasoning behind why they couldn't put, like I said, the Liberty, they're also undefeated. Why they couldn't put some of the other group of 5 teams and extra teams in that are undefeated. You kind of have to look at it down here at the bottom. Like, you're not going to take USC out. Kansas, they just got a huge win over Oklahoma. Oklahoma State, they're a good team. Are you going to really put Liberty over Oklahoma State? Same thing with Kansas State. So I guess it's like, when you look at that, I guess if Liberty just keep on winning, they can get in. Don't get me wrong, no way am I saying that these undefeated teams like the Air Force, Liberty, and all of them should be moving way up into like the top 15. No. But I'm saying for them, their schools, they're trying to compete to get, obviously, the highest rank out of group of 5 teams, get a New Year's Six Bowl. It matters to them. And for a school like Air Force, they're sitting here at 25, and they almost feel like if they lose this week, they're done, which they would be done. But like Tulane, they're 7-1, and they're still in here. And then Air Force, they're sitting there like on the cusp. They might be thinking, hell, we could go undefeated, and Tulane, they could win every single game, and Tulane somehow could be ahead of us. Because you already have them ahead of us right now. Who says they can't stay ahead of us as long as they keep winning? Speaking of head-to-head, I want to go on to the next topic. Up here, you can see here, Texas is ahead of Alabama. Notice anything with that? You know why? Because Texas, earlier on in the year, they beat Alabama. Another head-to-head matchup. You see here, Washington beat Oregon earlier on in the year, so Washington is ahead of Oregon. But in this matchup, you can see here, Washington, they're 8-0, Oregon is 7-1. So you might be saying, well, that's the reason why that's that. Well, like I said a second ago, Texas, they're 7-1, Alabama 7-1. But because of the head-to-head, Texas stays ahead of Alabama. But don't you remember a game earlier on in the year, the Red River Showdown? Oklahoma, they beat Texas last second game. It was a great game. So if Oklahoma beat Texas, why is Oklahoma at 9 and Texas at 7? I realize in a way you're kind of having to look at the rankings and say, well, if you flipped Oklahoma up to 7, Texas to 8, and Alabama at 9, that means you have to say, yes, Oklahoma's better than Texas because they beat Texas. But do you think Oklahoma is better than Alabama? And that goes for right now, because the rankings, every week when they make their rankings, they are ranking it based off of right now. Not 3 weeks ago, not next week, but they have to take into account of if you did beat somebody last week or the week before or whenever, they take that into consideration, but they're not taking into consideration of how you maybe looked playing other teams in week 3. They're looking at how you're playing right now with some of the other stuff to kind of help back up your story. So if I was going to change anything, I heard a lot of the analysts saying Oklahoma should probably be up at 7 and just move Texas and Alabama down 1. I would probably agree with that. Other than that, the rest of the rankings from, I would say, 5 down, looks pretty good. I think Utah, when they lost, I thought they were going to probably drop a little more, but they stayed pretty sound. USC, I'm surprised they're down this far. I mean, I still think they're a good team. The 2 losses are going to suck. I don't think they're going to the playoffs anymore. They're just battling for pride now. And then a team like Missouri, they're coming out of nowhere right now. If they beat Georgia this week, we're talking about them being a legit SEC title contender and maybe go in the playoffs. Who knows? Now let's discuss the last thing here. Ohio State being ranked number 1. Don't get me wrong. I'm an Ohio State fan. I don't mind being ranked number 1. But a lot of people are saying Georgia should be number 1. I even said maybe for all we know, Michigan could be number 1. The topic with the chairman of the CFP committee, I forget his name, Booth, chairman, I think is how you say his name. He said they are taking into consideration a little bit, not totally, the whole sign stealing allegations. I forget exactly how he said it. It was like he said this is not a CFP discussion, this is a NCAA discussion. And because of that, they're not taking into consideration of the sign stealing with the way they're playing on the field. They have to just judge them what they're seeing their players do on the field. Now, the reasoning behind why Georgia and Michigan are both at number 2 and 3, and why Ohio State is at number 1, strength of schedule. When you look at Georgia's strength of schedule, they, I believe, are 100th in the country, and that is out of like, I think, 146 FBS schools. Whereas Michigan, they are 111th. And when you look at Ohio State, they are actually up around number 8. And the reason why they're there is because look at the teams Ohio State's played. They've beaten Penn State. They've beaten Notre Dame. 2 top 15 schools. If the CFP is ranking schools you played in the top 15, that's going to catch their eyes, and they're going to be like, hey, look, they beat 2 teams that we think are really good. Whereas when you look at Michigan's schedule and who they've played, let's look down the rankings. Is there anybody here that they have played? No. Now, for the Michigan fans that are getting salty and saying, well, we would beat you. Yeah, you're going to have your chance. You have a chance to bolster your resume. You play Penn State, I believe, next week. You play Ohio State at the end of the year. You have a chance to bolster your resume. And if you do both those things, you beat Penn State, you beat Ohio State, you'll probably be number 1. And for Georgia, you have a chance these next 3 weeks. It's going to be rough. But you play, I think, Missouri this week. You play Ole Miss next week. Both home games, so you can win both those games. And then you have to go on the road at Tennessee. That's 3 back-to-back-to-back ranked matchups. All very well could be top 15 teams when you play them all. If you play all those teams, you have a real shot for the number 1 seed. So for all the people out there that are complaining and saying, why should Ohio State be number 1? Georgia would beat Ohio State very easily. Michigan would whoop Ohio State right now. Florida State could beat Ohio State right now. Washington could beat Ohio State right now. Am I denying that? No, I think Ohio State, they're good on defense. Special teams good. Their offense is a little sluggish with the way their quarterback play is going. But I think they still put up a fighting chance at least. But the thing y'all are forgetting is, I think in the words of a Stephen A. Smith off of ESPN, the list is fluid. You have to go week by week. You can't judge it based off of what we're going to see in the playoffs. Like, this is not the final rankings, people. This is not what we're going to be seeing in the playoffs. Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State all could literally lose this week and be just booted right out of there. And you could be looking up next week and seeing Washington, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama in the top 4. I'm going to leave it off with this. Like I said just a second ago, Ohio State and Michigan, they're going to be playing each other at the end of the year. One of them's going to be booted out of there. Or maybe we might see 2 of them get in somehow. But I'm going to say now, whether it's Ohio State or Michigan that wins that last game of the season, one of them's going to be booted out. The winner will be going on to win the Big Ten title. They'll go in. Georgia, if they run the table and they win the SEC title game, they'll be in. Florida State, they run the table, they'll be in. And then I think with Washington and Oregon, if they both run their tables and they get to the Pac-12 title game, winner of that goes to the playoffs. Now, do I think all that's going to happen? Fuck no, because here's the thing I love about college football. You can never predict college football. Chaos is always going to happen, and it'll come at the most randomest time that you can't even imagine. But other than that, that's all I got to discuss for today's video. Hopefully you guys did go on to enjoy today's video. If you did, make sure you go ahead and drop a like. It's very much appreciated if you do so. If you watched the entire today's video and you kind of had a different opinion on kind of how the playoffs rankings went, maybe your team was ranked at a spot where you didn't like them. If you were a fan of the top 10, top 5 even, of how the teams are all ranked, if you think Ohio State should have been ranked number 1 or not, let me know your opinion down in the comment section down below, kind of what you think about the whole top 25. If you're a fan of the content that I am posting here and you want to go and hit that big red subscribe button, feel free to do so, and do not forget to hit that little notification bell to be notified the second I post. But without further ado, this has been Down Talk Sports. Have a great day. Peace.